Welcome to Brox and Max. Please like and subscribe if you like the content that I'm posting. Today, we're going to talk about some stuff that it's pretty old, but it wasn't that long ago. 100 years ago is a long time, but once upon a time, people were making a living with this stuff. It's hard to believe that this is what started America. This is a mid-20s Model K BROCKWAY. Fairly complete, minus the wood cab. A little bit left of the firewall. It's got a Ransom concrete mixer that I just put on the back. I thought it looked neat. Got hard rubber wheels in the back with pneumatic tires in the front. I believe the pneumatic is aftermarket for that time. That was the best type of cushion ride you can get for that period. And then naturally you don't have to worry about flats for the rear of this, whatever this truck did back then. Worm gear, rear end, Timken. Ran when parked. And this is another one of my prized possessions here. Same thing, K model, mid-20s. It's hard to decipher what exact year they are because the VIN tags were mounted on the wood cabs or the firewall of the trucks, and once they started to disintegrate, the tags fell off and sank in the ground, and by the time I get my hands on it, they're long gone. When I went to go get this, I had a buddy of mine help me, and I said, just have a couple flat tires, no big deal. Just gotta help me drag it on my trailer. Again, Brockways were built in Cortland, New York, so I'm very interested in New York pieces. These trucks have normally Continental 4-cylinder engines. Clearly somebody needed the head, or they went through a large amount of time to pull the head off to scrap it. I'm not sure what the story is, but it's decent yard art. I get to enjoy it. Got a little manly wrecker body on the back, just make it look appealing to the eye. This is a huge Brockway. Actually, this one might still have the tag. I don't know if it's correct. I do not believe this is correct, but it could be. It says model BT 8, but I'm not sure if it's actually authentic for this truck or not. It's got a Buddha engine in it. Again, there's no it's merely coincidence, but obviously somebody took the heads off of this one too. For what, I'm not sure. Pneumatic tires in the front, and it's got a very unique double frame. I believe this is a late 20s truck. But then we got this humongous hard rubber dual wheel in the back. I mean, the hub is huge. Then the spring pack is just and don't get me wrong, people used these trucks. I don't know if I can set this up perfectly for the camera, but that frame is not straight. It is bananaed in the middle from them loading this truck. It is just clearly this was a work truck. And that's all the Brockways were. Nobody thought about collecting them down the road. They were just put to work. And work they did. This Brockway is a, I would call this is in the time that Brockway bought out Indiana trucks. So the style is somewhat similar to what Indiana was building back then. I got this out of the Finger Lakes region in New York. I put up a Craigslist ad looking for old Brockways. And a guy said, hey, I got this one on my property. And I sold the property, and we made some type of an agreement, and I went to get it, and he helped me load it on my trailer so I could bring it back here. Somebody made a little doodle bug out of it at the end of its life. This one, I believe, has a Wisconsin SU 6-cylinder engine in it. And that model tag is still on there. It's model JF. And even the gauges are still there. Steering wheel is a little bit tired. I'm pretty sure this big tree that I purposely told the guy do not cut the tree completely away from it. This grew into the running board bracket against the frame of the truck. I wanted to keep it somewhat looking like it's been there a while. This one is a probably late 20s, 28, 29, something like that. Pneumatic tires at that point, late in the later 20s. Obviously the front wheels are not correct. This also has a 6-cylinder Wisconsin engine in it. Long frame, and the same thing, double frame, actually triple frame. I see some double rail there, and then this extra piece, this angle iron piece. It was just attempts to keep the trucks together the best they could. Get a good shot of the transmission on these. Forgot to mention BROCKWAY used Stewart Warner gauges. These tires are correct for the truck. They are, this is the old style 36 excuse me, 36 by 8 size tire, but that in turn turns out to be what you have to do to transfer that size to the normal size is you take the 8, multiply it by 2 to make it 16, then you subtract it by 36. So 36 minus 16 is 20, so that's a 20-inch wheel. So this tire is probably a 750/20 size tire, but this is, like I said, that tire is an old style, way back before they transferred to what the sizes are that were known today in tube type. Got a pretty decent sized rear in this too. Somebody needed the center section once upon a time. There isn't any gearing in it anymore, just a housing. I even got the spare with it. And it even has the BROCKWAY emblem on the back of the cross member still. This one is one of my prized possessions, one of my favorites to watch and look at. This is a 31, also BROCKWAY. Same idea with that Indiana Doodlebug that we talked about. It was in that time period that they bought out Indiana and they were using some of their designs and stuff like that. And the model 120C7, which anybody that's into the early BROCKWAYs, it just, there's some, a couple years that it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's just, it's jointed with Indiana in some type of a way. I got this out of northern Vermont. Went to go get it. It's a good 8-9 hours away from me. The guy was going to scrap it, and I just couldn't let that happen. So for the time being, I don't know if there's enough to restore this piece. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff missing. You could fabricate and make stuff for it. But it is one long truck. It is a long frame truck. It's even got this, I don't even want to touch it because it's so fragile. It's got one of these ladder systems, if you can see it, that the firemen would have to climb up buildings with this. It's got a, I forget what you call it, but it's got this horseshoe that you stab this top part into the window to climb multiple story buildings on this. Probably at the time it wasn't a rickety ladder because it's all steel. There's a big steel backbone on this ladder to keep it strong, but it's got little wood steps to climb. Probably 10-12 feet long, so it's a one way to climb one story of a building to get up higher. I have no history on this truck, but like I said, it's very enjoying to look at it. And it's unfortunate that it's this state. This is exactly how I got it. It hasn't gotten any worse since I've had it. I just didn't want to see it scrapped. This one I got at an auction. This is I believe is late teens. Same thing like we talked about with the one earlier. Pneumatic tires in the front, so it's an aftermarket idea because it should have been hard rubber with wood spoke, and this is pneumatic tire with cast spokes. Got a little 4-cylinder in it. I believe it's yes, it is Continental. Actually, and same thing. You see how much is left of the wood firewall, which is not a lot, but luckily, with the tag on the motor that's still there, you can see it says Continental, and then here's the number, but the date is March 26th. 17. So it's a 1917 truck. I wish I had more parts for it, like a grill, just to make it look more complete. Maybe I'll find something for it, but this one is in pretty tired shape. The frame is decent, but the springs, those are not to be desired. And the transmission, it needs a little bit of help. Top cover is rotted off, and then people mishandling it, clearly not seeing the value, broke the cast part of the transmission. So, but even look at this thing. You saw my hand in the really humongous behemoth Brockway. Look at my hand on this little transmission. And the transmission is not even connected to the engine. There is some, they were figuring stuff out back then. What is the best design to use for motor vehicles. And every truck was different. It's not like you can have a GMC and park it next to a Brockway. They had some similarities, but all their parts were different. There was really nothing that could interchange. It's just like today with Chevy and Ford. They had nothing change, nothing will fit. And last, but certainly not least, this was the last one that I got recently. This came out of Virginia. I just can't understand why it's in such rough shape coming from down south. Unless it's just spent a lot of time out in the elements. Fire department, clearly a fire truck. I don't know how long, maybe 50 years, maybe 70 years of them giving it up, and nobody scrapped it. They just kept it sitting around. Pneumatic tires, cast spoke. I believe this is a 28. Model ST, 4,000 pound capacity. It's just weird the way Mother Nature attacked this truck, because there's quite a bit of paint still left on it, but the gauges are shot. And then the thin sheet metal has quite a bit of rust on it, and rot actually. Just for being down south, like I said, this is throwing me off. I, again, know nothing about where it actually came from. I just bought it from a guy in Virginia. It was took quite a bit of effort to buy it. As some antique truck guys, they like their stuff, and rightfully so. I can respect that. This did have a somewhat of a fire body on it when I got it, but it was so rough. Just the condition of it was not practical to even keep it. I mean, just to give you an idea, these kick plates for the running boards are in beautiful shape compared to what was on this truck. I have a respect for fire trucks, but this is, I really concentrate on Brockways. So obviously Brockways made fire trucks, so that's why I try to grab them. If anybody has any leads on 20s Brockway stuff in conditions like this, feel free to comment. If you like what you see, hope you do. But this is just a small collection that I've spent a few years accumulating. Don't know if that's enjoyable for everybody, but people seem to get a kick out of it anytime they show up. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.